Hello, welcome to another episode of the MANNSCHRECKS. I'm Sarah.
And I'm JJ.
And welcome to our podcast.
I do want to say hi, Dan. There's a new friend, Dan Hart, who just started listening to the podcast, and he was very much enjoying it, and he's been messaging me, telling me how much he loves it, and he was bummed that we didn't drop a new episode. He was texting me saying, hey, no new episode. And I was like, I'm very sorry, but we needed a week off, so we took last week off with the move, and actually we were able to drop a podcast on the week we moved. It was the unpacking in the new house that was actually crazier than the actual moving. The moving was hard, but it's the getting the Wi-Fi set up and the just everything's in boxes and living out of boxes, and so that was kind of just last week. It was just too nuts.
It was pretty crazy. So we're back.
And ready to dive in. And I've got a couple of stories. You got a couple of stories?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be fun. All right. Do you want to go first?
Sure. I can go first.
Oh, wait. I forgot to do our line. Are you ready to approach the news?
I was kind of hoping we moved past that because I was all ready to read before you started.
No, I need to. I have
terrible
to.
line. Okay, so says a coffee roastery in Finland has launched an AI-generated blend. Is that the one that you
That's
did
my
too?
second story. I can't believe that. That's
amazing.
Okay, tell us the story though, because it's so interesting.
We usually run these by each other first.
I thought for no way you would find that story. That's amazing.
It's an AP story.
Yeah, Associated Press. I was very excited. I love this.
So anyways, in Helsinki, an artisan roastery based in the Finnish capital has introduced a coffee blend that has been developed by artificial intelligence in a trial in which it's hoped that technology can ease the workload in a sector that traditionally prides itself on manual work. I find that interesting because it's true. It's very niche, but they're always super proud of coffee roasting and blah, blah, blah. So it's it is only apt that the Helsinki-based Kaffa Roastery's AI-conic blend was launched this week in Finland, a Nordic nation of 5.6 million that consumes the most coffee in the world. Wow. So it's mixed with 4 types of beans dominated by Brazil's velvety Fazenda Pinhal, and is the end result of a joint project by Kaffa, Finland's third biggest coffee roastery, and a local AI consultancy, Elev.
I gotta say, I love coffee and you love coffee. I think you like higher end stuff more. I like good quality coffee also, but I'll drink pretty much anything that has caffeine in it. I'm good. But I think this is a good proper use of AI. I'm like, all right, I'm here for it.
Yeah, it says we basically gave descriptions of all of our coffee types and their flavors to AI and instructed it to create a new exciting blend while showcasing AI Iconic at the Helsinki Coffee Festival that annually brings together roasteries and coffee aficionados. So, in addition to coming up with chosen mixture of beans from Brazil, Colombia, Ethiopia, and Guatemala, AI created the coffee package label and a detailed taste description saying AI Iconic is a well-balanced blend of sweetness and ripe fruit.
They always say that. I feel like every high-end coffee that I've ever seen is it's the perfect blend, and then they talk about fruit and then citrusy flavors or earthy, and they all just have the same 10 buzzwords that they throw into their description.
Smooth, velvety, all these things.
Not that I'm cynical, but I'm a little cynical.
You're a little cynical.
I'm like, come on now. And I don't know. I do like good coffee. I love it. I guess I'm a dark coffee guy, so I don't care that much about some of the lighter flavors. Anything that says citrusy, I usually am like, meh. It comes off acidic to me. But I thought it was fun how the AI put 4 beans instead of just the 2. They're like, well, most of us just put 2 types of beans together. But the AI was like, no.
Let's do 4.
Stick them in there. Get it in there. And I'm like, all right, there you go. Push the bounds. I like it.
Says after the first test roasting and blind testing, Kaffa's coffee experts agreed, however, that the tech-assisted blend was perfect and there was no need for human adjustments. Wow. It's interesting. This trial was the first step in seeing how AI could help us in the future. Adding the project brought smoothly together the artisan skills of a roastery and AI-provided data. I think AI has plenty to offer us in the long run. We are particularly impressed of the coffee taste descriptions created.
I love it.
I think it's very...
Okay. Yeah. Well, and it's not taking anybody's job. People who are doing the job and would be doing the job are just able to be more creative or dive into new areas. So I'm like, all right, this is a cool use of AI.
I would never think of using AI for that. So it's very
food blends.
Yeah, it's creative. It's clever.
I am a little bit afraid. So I feel like there's the real food industry, and then there's the how can we sell it to you cheaply industry. You know? And so there's like I think of it like in Ratatouille. There's like the real food, and then there's Gusteau's
microwave meals.
Yeah, that they were like mass produced or whatever. And it's like that's just how it works. And so I'm a little afraid that they're gonna like using it for real food is really cool. I'm a little afraid that the big companies are gonna be like, haha, we can use AI to like put together more varieties of corn syrup for people to consume.
More Franken food.
Ooh, I like that. Frank, did you just come up with that, or is that?
No, that's pretty. You don't. You're not part of like the natural health world.
No, not at all. I benefit from your knowledge, foods. But Frankenfoods is a total that I want to know more about this, and maybe we need to discuss this on a future episode because Frankenfood sounds hilarious. Okay, so
sounds hilarious, terrifying in reality.
My first story is
please be my second story.
No, there's no way it is because it is nothing. It's not a news story.
Oh, okay.
It is. I found out about an event, and I need you to know that this event exists.
Okay.
It didn't happen recently, so it's been happening for 30 years, and it did happen. It is going to happen in 2024,
okay.
And it did happen in 2023. Australia has an annual duck fashion show.
They dress up ducks?
They dress up ducks. Forget about New York Fashion Week, the Met Gala, or Milan Runway. In Sydney, Australia, it's the well-dressed ducks who steal the scene at the annual Pied Piper Duck Show. It's an event, so it did already happen in 2024.
So crazy.
It's a Sydney's Royal Easter Show.
Royal Easter
They
show?
do it every Easter. They dress up these ducks. I'll share these pictures with you. They are hilarious. They're like old-timey, elegant outfits.
Wow.
And the necks, they put like high collars around the necks and little hats, and they dress up ducks. The costumes are covered in brilliant detail and made from the best materials by top designer dressmakers. According to Brian Harrington, these feathered models are just as talented as their human counterparts, which I don't know how models could read that as not an insult.
Yeah, I think I'd be offended if I were a model and they said that about.
Both hens and drakes, which I believe means boys and girls. Is that what that is? Drakes are boys, yes. Hens and drakes take part in the fashion finery Struth, whatever next.
Wow.
The fashion show for ducks was...
Australians are weird, man.
They're so weird. I didn't know they had ducks. I thought they only had like poison crabs and kangaroos and dingoes and things that try to kill you.
Poison crab?
Sure, why not? I'm just making stuff up. The fashion show for ducks was a novel and popular part of the Royal Easter Show in Sydney, brought out more creativity from the designers. But if you also want the fashion show for ducks to be more colorful with multiple styles of fashion, customized patches can be used as a creative addition to your outfits. They have
so it's just anybody who can dress a duck?
Yes. It attracted, so there's this other article, it attracted...
And they're dressing their pet ducks? Catching wild ducks.
Doesn't say, actually. Where are they getting these ducks?
Yeah, where are the ducks coming from?
It is considered a highlight event of the annual show, attracting 900,000 visitors. Now, that's the whole thing, is Sydney's annual Easter show. So not just the duck portion, but 900,000 people come to this massive festival. Each fashionista fowl is given the opportunity to strut its stuff on the catwalk or quackwalk, if you will. They each get 3 designer-made outfits for the day, evening, and wedding attire. Those are the 3 categories that they use on the quackwalk. Duck fashion show. It happened all the way back at Easter, and I just didn't know about it. But somebody posted about it. It kind of like went viral recently, and
that is so bizarre.
Wind. Shame there isn't a swimwear category. Category. That's where they're most natural. Au natural, that is. Whoever wrote this article from the CanberraTimes.com. Awesome. Just well done. I'm so proud of this article and humanity for coming up with this event. You're just well done, guys.
Maybe.
Duck fashion show.
All right. Well,
You're just stupid.
I'm just imagining it. It's just
I gotta
entertaining.
show you these pictures. They're so good.
Please do. All right. So my second story is just as foul, but two vultures.
Oh. I was in the middle of taking a drink, so my groan didn't come out at the right.
Two vultures found, quote, too drunk to fly in
no.
Connecticut. So apparently in April 19, an animal rescue group in Connecticut said a pair of drunk vultures were treated with fluids and a big breakfast before being released.
How did they know?
So there's an animal rescue group called A Place Called Hope, and they said that a duo of vultures had been dumpster diving and ate something that was fermented enough to cause severe intoxication.
Wow.
The rescue said the vultures were initially thought to be seriously ill, but when taken in to test them, they confirmed that they were merely too drunk to fly. They only needed fluids and to be tucked in overnight and were fed a big breakfast the next day.
Just soak it in.
The vultures were released back into the wild and successfully joined their colony. Remember, your cocktail fruit that ends up in a dumpster can end up intoxicating wildlife if the dumpster is not kept closed.
Wow. That's amazing. And it's one of those where it's like there's no bad actors, nobody did anything bad.
No, it's literally just they got into some garbage and
food and the vultures got into it. What was fermenting though? Like grapes
some kind
ferment.
of fruit or something.
Yeah, but vultures don't eat that.
Vultures will eat any kind of trash. They usually go for meat, like they'll go for carrion. But I don't. Ugh, gross. Gross. So, anyways, close your dumpsters, folks.
Drunk vultures. That's pretty solid. That's a good story. Like that's a crazy thing that happened in the world, and I would never have known about it if not for this amazing podcast.
I know.
This is why people need us. Okay, so I did have a backup story just in case.
Okay.
A new declaration in Mexico gives the 19 cats who are roaming the presidential palace food and care forever. But
19 cats. Are they strays that just wander around?
I don't know. It is so it kind of has to me it has an Aristocats vibe. You remember Aristocats, right?
Yes, I do.
Classic Disney movie, favorite part of my childhood. But the old lady, when she passes, she leaves all her money and she's like, "My house will be transformed into a house for cats," or whatever.
Yes.
Kind of like that. They prowl through the palace gardens, stalking pigeons and making cameos in televised press briefings. So this is like where the president does stuff, and they had but then cats will like walk through.
So random.
I like
That's
it.
way too many cats.
Some greet tourists at the door while others take sneaky licks of ice cream from the staff.
Sneaky licks.
Sneaky licks.
Sure.
So they are feral cats, and they have free reign of Mexico's national palace, long roaming the lush gardens and historic colonial halls of the most iconic buildings in the country. They have access to every part of the palace, so they walk in on meetings, interviews, and wander in onto camera, said Jesus Arias, the palace veterinarian, as a handful of feline friends brush against his ankles. So this is like a thing.
That's weird.
I kind of like it. I wish our White House had like maybe not cats, but like, hey, we've got an orangutan who hangs out in the East Wing.
It's not nice to call the president names, JJ. Now the palace cats have made history after the government, Mexican. Boo.
You don't like my puns? Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador declared them to be living fixed assets and the first animal in Mexico to receive the title.
That's interesting.
So it's a technical term. The investment term fixed asset usually applies to buildings and furniture, but applying it to cats, the government is obligated the country's treasury to give them food and care for the rest of their lives, even after the leader leaves office in October. The cats are now a symbol of the national palace. Just as we understand this world, I wouldn't understand the national palace without the presence of these cats. We have to make sure the cats are taken care of. Here's my question.
Are the taxpayers' dollars going to this?
Yes.
Because the
treasury is legally obligated to take care of these cats. And what happens if the next president is allergic to cats?
Well, I guess it sucks to be the next president. You'll be kicked out.
But get him some Benadryl. Nestled in the heart of Mexico City, the presidential palace has long been the seat of Mexico's executive branch. Blah, blah, blah. It goes into the whole thing. But, there are cats, feral cats, And staff say they remember the feral cats living among the cacti and dense brush of the gardens as far back as 50 years ago. So this has kind of always been a thing. It's not like
That's
the president
so weird.
brought these cats.
Yeah.
They were just there.
Yeah, and then there's just cats there. They're just always there. We can't get rid of them. They got to stay. We have to feed them and everything.
Feed them. I heard beat them.
We have to beat them.
And I was like, oh my gosh.
No, feed them. We're required to.
Gotta feed them.
Oh, man. That's just weird. And, yeah, it would be really awful if you were allergic to cats.
Oh, man. Oh, yeah. It's unclear when they first appeared or how they even got in the building. There are 19 who live in the building full-time, but many more come and go.
Full-time or some part-time?
Yeah, many more come and go. Staff suspect they slip under the small crack in the palace gate by night. This seems like a security hazard. Like, you can't be having that. You know, that's
You can't be having those stray cats sneaking in.
You know, you get your robot cat in there and, you know. One cat named Zeus, who has since passed away, but he became famous in July when he meandered into the president's morning press briefing. The gray cat stood in front of the cameras and wandered among the reporters until palace staff had to carry him off.
Wow, that's so bizarre.
I think it's amazing. To avoid a catastrophe, the president said the government had to ask reporters to stop feeding him because he would just spend his days accepting treats from different people.
And he got so fat he died.
That's what it says. It says he was getting really fat.
That's probably why he died.
Oh, man.
Wow. It's not like, I know in some cultures cats are like revered and respected.
I don't think
that's true in Mexican culture.
Not that I know. Well,
I don't know. That's
more
why
Egyptian though, right?
That's what I thought. I thought
that
cats
goes
were
back way back. I don't think anyone takes that line nowadays.
I had no idea. That's what I was.
No, I think it's just a fun, cute thing. And I mean, how expensive is it really to feed 19 cats? You know, it's like, all right, we just have to feed them and care for them.
I mean, I don't know. Kind of expensive.
I guess.
Cats.
I don't know though. We get away with feeding them pretty because they don't do anything.
They're fat and old. Like
our cats don't do.
They're like 13 years old.
They are. They're getting up there, and they really. I'm surprised actually how well they are doing considering their age.
I mean, he's like a fat lord there around a pillow.
There's a cat joining us for the recording right now. I'm all animal news today. Ducks and cats.
You got your ducks in a row.
I do.
Anyways.
On the Quackwalk. I don't know why that pun tickles me so much. I love it. Are you ready for Sponsor Your Life?
I am. So this past week, as we mentioned, we moved and getting settled into the new place.
We're residents of Grand Rapids now.
We are. We live in Grand Rapids. It has been a transitional journey that has taken many, many weeks. But we finally made it. And we're finally here. And we are just getting, settled in. But I don't know, this past week and, with everything going on, I've just been very grateful for family. And like I was saying, even family of our family. Like,
yes.
My sister-in-law's parents were super helpful in giving us an awesome accessory for our kitchen, a beautiful roll-ing island, because the kitchen that we have in our new house is painfully small. As someone who I spend a lot of time in the kitchen. I bake a lot. The kids help me bake a lot. We do a lot of stuff. And so the kitchen is like my place. And so
you do not have
it's just
any
such a
counter
small,
space. Yep.
I don't have any counter space. But I'm just so grateful that we've had so many family members. I mean, my family, your family,
so
just
great.
people helping out, helping moving.
My family loaded up on the east side,
right?
And then your family helped us unload.
And it was so helpful. And it's just been so, I know everyone's busy, but I've just been so grateful with how much help we received. So yeah, that's just Sponsor My Life this week. And last week is just family and helpful people,
Yes.
It's been awesome. So.
Hugely helpful. Let's see. So Sponsor My Life is all of that. Like, I just want to echo that because people really have been just amazing. But one of my favorite things, so we've moved a lot actually in our time together as a married couple. We've been in 3 different apartments in Chicago. Then we moved up to the UP. Then we lived in Flint. Then we moved it to Freeland and Saginaw. And then we moved finally to Grand Rapids. And it's like, that's kind of a lot.
It is, yeah.
But everywhere we go, one of my favorite things to do is search for food.
It's no surprise that JJ likes to eat.
I love to eat. And we get to a new place and it's like, all right, where's the cute bakeries? Where's the coffee shops? Where's the good food? And I don't even mean good in like expensive. I mean, just I like fun local places.
It doesn't have to be expensive to be good food.
And so I was driving home the other day and I was like, I need a bakery treat. Like I wanted to bring you something.
I need a bakery treat. I can see you driving the road saying that.
I did. I absolutely did. And I was like, I don't know. And I was trying to have Google find me something. And I was like, find a bakery near me. And I came up with a bunch of options. And I was like, this one's a local place. Like, it's not a chain or anything. It was called Ebenezer's Bakery. And it's in kind of the Hispanic section of Grand Rapids. And I walk in and everything's in Spanish. And the lady behind the counter was super, super helpful. And it was cute because half of it is a Guatemalan, like, cafe. They have like food there that
That's
you can
so
get.
cool.
And I want to go back and get food, but they had this whole wall of food, and there was like the breads and then the like sweets, and they were super like affordable, and I was just like hoo like, and so I just had her like, you know me, I meet new people and I'm like, tell me everything, and I'm like, tell me about this whole wall of food, and I was like, what's that thing, and what's that thing, and what's that thing.
I do. Yeah.
I walked out with a whole bag full of goodies. It was so fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really fun. I liked it a lot. It's over on the other side of Garfield Park, Ebenezer's. I think it's just called Ebenezer's Bakery, and yeah, it's really cute hole in the wall. I almost missed it. Like I couldn't find it for a half a minute, and I drove right past it. But then I spun around and I found it, and I was super excited. And it was very yummy.
Nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I like bakeries too.
Yeah. Well, and I brought the treats home.
That's true.
Most of them. Are you ready for our hot topic?
Yes.
All right, so
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I stretched myself because I was thinking about the move, and I was like, "What do we want to talk about? What's going to be our topic tonight?" And I've seen more and more posts about this. I think honestly, just right now, the economy is really bad, and that sounds like such a generic, heavy thing to talk about. But I think people, when money is tight, people look at the world and they wonder, is this okay? Like, is this ethical? And so with the move and our finding a house and everything, I wanted to know, do you think, or do you understand or resonate with the argument that landlords, like purchasing property to rent it to people, is unethical?
It depends on how you behave as a landlord. Like,
yep,
I could see good. Like if I were financially stable, that's funny to think about. If I had a significant amount of wealth and I was like, I want to become a landlord, I would try to find a way to provide housing for people that was much more affordable. And I'm not saying like, low income housing. I'm saying like I would want to be a helpful person.
Yeah,
like I would provide things for people. And I don't know. I feel like that could be a very ethical and way of like ministering to people. Not that I'm only going to vet people who are, Christians or whatever, because that's not ministry.
But it's a way to help people who are down on their luck.
Right. And so I feel like that would be really cool. But I do see the landlord game, if you want to call it that, as very much a how much can I make and squeeze out of these people who are kind of in a desperate situation or who just really need a place to live for a fair amount without, raking them over the coals.
So I'm going to reference an article from theguardian.com about landlords, and it says, can you be a buy-to-let landlord, which I think is just a British word for buy-to-rent, right? Buy-to-let landlord and still be ethical. Landlord is a dirty word for some. It rings of inequality. It's absolutely disgusting that this unfairness is allowed to pervade our society. That was a quote.
Okay.
My heart goes out to any families at the mercy of these parasites whose sole qualification is that they can outbid you for a mortgage deposit.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's the idea, is that somebody comes in and they can bid higher, they get the mortgage, and then they turn around and charge you for their mortgage payment. Judging by these and other online comments by readers, many are scathing of buy-to-let landlords. So there's a lot more online traffic and conversation. I've actually seen some of this of people who are just deciding that landlords are evil. Like it's just it's an immoral concept. We shouldn't allow it in our society. I don't know. What do you think about that? Like, I think when the economy was good and most people had enough to provide for their basic needs, this wasn't considered some great, horrible evil.
Yeah.
But I think people are struggling.
People are struggling big time. I know that we were in kind of a desperate situation when we were getting ready to move. Like, you knew you had the job and you knew you were going to be, transitioning into this role. And it was like, we kind of were getting down to crunch time where we were like, well, we know we have to sell our house, but we don't have any prospects as far as where to live. And the process of selling our home in Freeland was much smoother because we did not realize just how crazy the market in Grand Rapids was.
Yeah.
So for us to have all the options, we looked into renting.
Yep.
But the amount for rental properties to rent a place
expensive
in Grand Rapids was just astronomical. And I know it's been a long time since we've rented. We haven't rented since we were in Chicago. And we live downtown Chicago, and we paid $1,200 a month.
That was a lot.
For our 2-bedroom apartment.
Yep. And it worked out great. I mean,
it did. It was a great location.
Year, so.
I walked the 1.5 blocks to my job.
That was pretty nice.
And then you could just take the red line down to the main station and head out to Downers Grove every time you needed to work, or drive the car. I did not hate that location. But
I loved
looking to live in Grand Rapids, it had been over 10 years since we had rented, so it was okay. But I mean, our living situation, we have kids, we have pets.
Oh, we have way more. We would not
way
fit.
More stuff. And it was starting price for some of the places that were even viable options were $1,800, $1,900 a month.
Yeah.
And that did not include utilities. It was kind of this is a really insane price for renting. So I can't imagine people who are scraping by, and they can't, find somewhere to rent to have such it seems impossible. It seems unattainable. And so it does really, it's problematic for sure.
What's interesting is that more and more people are becoming landlords. The number of landlords is soaring with figures from the Council of Mortgage Lenders showing that rental remortgage lending rose by 24% in July compared to June, and this is of last year.
Wow.
So it's explode. People are wanting to do this. Now there's a guy, Glenn Nichols. They're quoting him. He owns a online tenant community called The Tenant's Voice. It's like a rental.
Okay.
People can talk about renting and stuff. And he says, being a landlord isn't inherently unethical. The reality is we need landlords to invest in housing because not everybody wants to or can afford to buy their own home. Mm-hmm. But the trouble is landlords aren't known for putting people ahead of profit. So it's kind of like what you were saying in the beginning about it's not unethical to be a landlord, but you have to do it the right way.
Yeah.
And so many landlords are more about how can I get the most out
It's
of...
like any situation where you kind of forget about the people involved because you're so focused on that thing that you want to get from it. And it's
Well, and I think that speaks to a larger conversation that's been irking, I think, everybody lately. When the economy is fine and working a full-time job provides you with enough income to provide your basic needs. But I think our society, we aren't getting enough to provide for basic needs. And so people are looking for the cracks. We're looking for the stress lines of where can I attack something to be mad about.
Yeah.
Because the grocery stores are insane. Groceries are too expensive. And, you talk streaming services, their prices go up every year or whatever, practically every year. And they've started putting commercials in it's unless you pay $30 for the subscription, you have to also watch a commercial in the middle of your movie or
it's
whatever.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
And I'm seeing a lot of complaints about maybe just capitalism in general. We're just tired of not having enough money. And so I think people's complaints about the landlord situation are not necessarily this is an inherently evil system. I do think it's no, we're complaining because there's stress lines. People don't have enough money. And so we're looking at our life saying, where can I be mad? Who can I blame? Because this isn't fair.
Yeah,
it's just
it's true.
A good thing. And so, I think this is interesting. Many landlords is talking about dependent housing, and then put restrictions on it. They won't. The opposite of, because the truth is, helping the lower income people often for a landlord means that some months you won't get rent, or rent will be late, or you know, it's more of a hassle than when you rent to someone who is a sure thing.
Yeah.
You know, and so there's a lot of landlords who will not let riskier tenants come in. You know, and it has nothing to do with whether they're good or bad people, but just, will they give me my check reliably?
Yeah.
That's, you know, and so that does skew things in a financial direction. Honestly, I think anytime we skew decisions based on finances, it turns us into worse people.
Yeah, I agree.
In everything, not just landlords, you know. I don't know, though. I think I have more of an issue with our country's relationship with debt and banks and predatory lending, like for schools.
I fully agree.
I think that's more immoral than housing rental. I guess I don't have a problem with housing rental.
It's all problematic.
I'm trying to think. I don't really know very many landlords, though. Do you know people who own property that they rent?
A few people, but they don't necessarily do it for nefarious reasons. Like,
no.
I've known people who purchase properties and flip them and then rent them out to people.
I know some people like that.
But they do rent them out to people, but they're not the people that I see, you know, doing it for, you know, seedy reasons where they're like, I'm going to make all this money back. It's like, that's just what they do. They like to do that. So, I don't know.
It's fascinating.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I think you're right. It depends on how you do it. Yeah. So anyways, I saw that recently. A lot of people have been commenting on, I just think the whole system is evil. And I'm like... Well,
and I feel like if I were an oppressed renter, I might speak more loudly on that, like the squeaky wheel. I think there's bigger issues at stake here. I just think that the rate we have for our interest rate on our mortgage is insane. But that's just, you know, that's something that I'm directly connected to. Whereas I'm not a renter right now. So if I were struggling under the weight of really high rental payments, that's different. I'd probably, you know... But
well, and like I said, I think there are worse practices that are currently getting a pass. But I do think that money in general is just a extremely fraught thing, and Americans. Actually, I just saw this great post about how, like, we don't speak as Christians about greed enough in our society, when it is such a huge concern for our first world society, but we don't speak on it. We speak about, so the post that went viral was a pastor talking about the Timothy passage on modesty. Oh yeah. And he's like, everyone turns it into like conversations about cleavage or skinny jeans or how much skin are you showing, when really the passages in the Bible about modesty are about your wealth and your displays of wealth. He's like, finish the sentence, and you see it. It's very clearly about jewelry and that the ways that they were displaying their wealth. And yet the American church is almost silent on those things. We culture war about yoga pants, but not money. And it was like, ooh, he's right. You know?
Yep, that's very
I mean, I don't know that pastor. You know, maybe I don't agree with him on anything else, but on that one thing, he was right. You know?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
And we don't talk about it enough. Greed is such a toxic and potent thing in our society, and so I think that's more what people are railing against, not landlords who can be good but also can be bad, just like any other moral group.
Yeah. Is that light flickering or is it just me?
Oh, it is a little bit.
Sorry, I thought my eyes were playing tricks.
No, you're good.
Making my eyes wig out. Anyways, sorry.
I think that's our cue for bedtime.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm not tired. I just flickering. Anyways.
Well, hey everybody! Thanks so much for listening to this. Oh, sorry. Here, let me try it again. What should I say? Well, thanks
for listening to our podcast.
I feel this compulsion to say everybody. I'm trying to I'm addressing people, and it's like, hey, guys, people.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast.
We hope you enjoy it. We love making it. We're glad to be back. Tap in if you have anything to say about the conversation. If you want to talk to us about the landlord thing or the the economic downfall of Western civilization in general.
Not to be dramatic or anything.
You know, those are small, good topics for a tweet. You know, 240 characters. Limit yourself. We do appreciate everybody who listens, and so thanks so much, everybody. And we will see you next time. I'm sorry,
How many times do I say the word everybody? Everybody. I got to everybody. Okay, everybody. Here we go, everybody.
I think we need a mom joke to get me out of
All
this.
right. Okay. So I've got some new themed mom jokes. So, anyways, a new season here. Where do sheep go for spring break?
I don't know.
The Bahamas.
Oh, weak.
Okay, fine. I'll try a different one.
Give me another one.
What's the difference between summer rolls and spring rolls?
I don't know.
Seasoning.
I like that one.
I like that one too.
All right, bye everybody.